Hey there! If you're thinking about selling your home, you've probably explored ways to make it stand out to potential buyers. Today, we're diving into a powerful strategy, and that's seller concessions. If this is your first time here or you've been looking for reliable real estate tips, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more insights like this. Seller concessions can make your property more appealing, potentially bringing in stronger offers, and even speed up the sale process. So what exactly are seller concessions and how do they work? Let's break it down. To start with, let's do a little definition of seller concessions, and they're simply financial contributions from you, the buyer, to cover certain costs tied to buying your home. These could include closing costs, title fees, inspection expenses, or even home repairs. But why offer these concessions? Well, first, they can make your property more attractive, especially to buyers who may not have a lot of cash up front for all those costs. By reducing these costs, you're helping the buyer stretch their budget and making it easier for them to consider your home. Plus, sometimes offering seller concessions can tip the scale in your favor, especially in competitive markets where it might just be the deciding factor in sealing the deal. If you're sitting there wondering what types of seller concessions you could offer, well, guess what? There's some flexibility, and none of this is set in stone. You might consider covering closing costs, which often range from 2 to 5% of the loan amount. You could take care of a title search fee, which are needed to verify ownership, or maybe the buyer has loan origination fees they need help with to get approved. Covering these costs could make your property a little bit more appealing. Another option that I have seen is helping with HOA dues if you're in a community that requires them. Then there are costs like appraisals or inspections. In some cases, you might cover those, and by covering these, you're showing the buyer you're confident in your property. And finally, instead of tackling minor repairs, you could offer a repair concession to the buyer to handle those repairs after closing. These examples show how concessions can be customized based on the type of buyer you're hoping to attract. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts of it a little bit more and how they actually work. Some sellers choose to advertise concessions right from the start in the property listing. This approach can attract buyers up front if you're targeting a specific type. Alternatively, concessions are often negotiated as part of the offer or counteroffer process. If buyers propose concessions, you can accept, decline, or counter. One thing to note here is concessions usually aren't binding until they're outlined in the purchase agreement. So if you and the buyer agree to make a concession, make sure it's included in the contract. Write it down. Always get it in writing. Now, I've done a few different videos, in fact, one very recently, on the new changes that started August 17th that deal with compensation, and I really want to drive home the point that there is a big difference between concessions and what is known as an offer of compensation. Okay? Concessions help the buyer directly with purchasing costs, while an offer of compensation is typically about compensating the buyer's agent. Concessions are really about making the property affordable for the buyer, whereas offers of compensation make sure everyone involved in the transaction is fairly compensated. So you decided to offer concessions, and you're wondering how to do that? Well, we touched on advertising it up front just a minute ago, but you would kind of do that in some cases through the MLS if you're listing with an agent. Some MLS platforms allow you to post concessions, though there may be restrictions on how they're displayed. If you don't advertise them up front, concessions can still be a powerful tool in negotiations, as buyers may request certain ones, and you can offer them as a way to keep the sale moving forward. Any advertised concession typically needs to be listed as a single total amount. This avoids confusion and gives buyers a clear understanding of what's on the table. Now, a question that I get from time to time, are there limits on seller concessions? And the short answer is yes. A lot of loans, most loans, have a cap on the concessions you can offer. which depends on the buyer's loan type and, in some cases, local regulations. For example, with conventional loans, the cap varies based on the buyer's down payment. FHA, VA, and USDA loans have their own caps, often around 4 to 6% of the loan amount. Certain concessions, like paying part of the buyer's agent fee, may be excluded from these caps, so it's wise to work with your agent to make sure that you're in line with the buyer's financing guidance. And also, you probably should check in with the lender where that buyer's getting the loan from and make sure that everything is logical, legal, and makes sense. Finally, deciding if concessions are the right move is a decision best made with an experienced real estate agent who knows the market. A good agent can help you assess your unique situation, weigh the pros and cons, and explore comparable properties to make the best decision. And if you're working with a realtor, you'll benefit from their commitment to promoting the best interests as outlined in the Realtor Code of Ethics. That means they'll guide you every step of the way, answering questions and advising on strategies that align with your goals. So there you have it. Seller concessions explained. They can be a powerful tool to make your property more attractive, help buyers manage their upfront costs, and even close the sale faster. If you're considering concessions or any other selling strategy, I'd love to help you figure out what's best for you. Drop me a line in the comments and let's chat about your goals and the best way to make them happen. I'll be back next week with more great information. So until then, be kind to one another.